All right, what is up, Utah fans? This is Joseph back with the Utah Utes Football Digest. And Utah has a very exciting transfer portal visit weekend coming up. We've already gotten 14 portal additions, but it looks like in this new world of transfer heavy rosters, we are continuing to aggressively pursue high profile transfer prospects. We're going to dive into who's coming to the campus this weekend. Lots of guys, lots of talented players. I'm excited to dive into it. Before we do so, make sure you smash that like button. That's going to help get the video out to some more Utah fans. Also, comment down below. Who do you guys like a lot? Any positions you feel like we don't need to keep targeting? Any positions you'd like us to have a heavier focus of targeting? Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. We're putting out a ton of Utah Utes football content. So if that's your thing, make sure you're subscribed and make sure you hit that notification bell because the videos are coming out quick and fast. So, make sure that you're getting the updates as soon as they happen. And let's go ahead and dive in and take a look at the transfer portal weekend ahead for Utah. Okay, guys, and Steve Bartle just posted this article earlier today. Great follow if you're not already following him. But he says Utah has effectively tackled critical areas of needs, significantly addressing the quarterback, running back, receiver, and defensive secondary position groups. In the next few days, they will also host several visitors to potentially enhance the class further. Utah hosts plans to host 7 transfer portal visitors to campus between today and early next week. Only 3 have been publicly reported, and a source close to the situation asked that the other 4 visitors be kept anonymous until they are similarly reported. Okay, so is what it is there, but the guys we do know are high profile guys, and that's what we're going to dive into. So there are a total of 7 guys heading to Utah late this or from today to early next week. One of them is on campus right now. I'm excited to dive in, take a look at these guys. And we're also going to, there's guys we don't even know who they are that are on campus, but we'll talk about the ones we know about first. Okay, guys, and first up, we've got Carlos Hernandez. He is set to visit today, January 3rd, according to Bartle. He is on campus right now. 6 foot, 189 pounds. He's played in over 20 games the last 2 seasons in Pullman, totaled 55 receptions for 655 yards and 5 touchdowns during that span. As a freshman, he played in all 12 games and racked up 24 catches for 258 yards. This season, an injury caused Hernandez to miss the first 5 games, but he still played in 8 games this year with 6 starts. He ended up hauling in 31 receptions for 397 yards and 5 touchdowns. So what that tells us, guys, is that he was able to get 8 games in, 6 of them being the starter. And even in just in 8 games total at nearly 400 receiving yards, it means he's averaging almost 50 yards a game while not even being the starter in 2 of those games. So that's a really good sign. Let's take a look at the numbers here, guys. You can see here, and I always love when you see this, right? So take a look at this. There, he gets three targets here, 4 targets here, and then for the rest of the season, he gets 5 or more targets in every game except one. And in the bowl game, they're peppering him with targets, 11 targets for 8 catches, 80 yards, and a touchdown. You like to see that. And what I think that tells you is he was becoming more of a piece of this offense and continued to earn that role, right? 5 to 6 targets a game, basically, for almost the entire second half of the season. And then he shows up huge in the bowl game, 11 targets, huge get. And against Syracuse, not an amazing grade of 62.1, but I like what the numbers are showing here. The other thing to mention with this guy is almost all these snaps are out wide, right? We mentioned his size, 6 foot, 189. He is playing out wide, and not to devalue slot receivers because they can be very powerful, very effective. But one of the hardest things you can find is an out wide receiver that can make plays. It is what everyone's willing to pay really big money for. And it looks like this kid has proven he can do that. Looking at his game track, you could see a bit of a struggle here against Fresno State. But yeah, he only got targeted 3 times. Pretty rough grade. But outside of that, the worst grade's a 55.2. Everything else is 60s or higher, and a couple really good grades, right? And Fresno State was also the first game coming back from injury. So I think very promising here what we're seeing from him. This is a nice one, guys. yak per reception. So yak per reception, basically, once he catches the ball, how many yards is he getting after that? And 6.2, and then 6.6 the previous year for a total of 6.4, especially when you're playing out wide, is a very, very impressive number. That is a lot of yards after the catch. And average depth of targets, like when you see 6.2 yak per reception, you're expecting to see a pretty shallow depth of target, right? You're expecting to see like, um, really, really short. But his average depth of target was 9.2, and that's 6.2. So that means he's catching balls, on an average of 8 to 10 yards downfield. And then he's breaking a tackle or fighting for extra yards and getting, almost 15 yards per catch. I think that's really impressive. And this is a guy that after looking this over, I'm pretty freaking excited about it. I don't love the 3 drops. I like the yards per route run. It's not crazy high, but it's pretty good. 1.84. I mean, I like a lot of what I'm seeing here. Not much to complain about. Yak yards, 192 last year. That's awesome. So really good stuff, and I really like what we're seeing here from Carlos Hernandez. Real quick, I want to point this out. Forget what this metric means. Where is it? Okay, contested targets. So how many of his targets were contested? Not a crazy high number. So contested targets was 6. Contested target catches was 3. So on the 50-50 balls, he caught 50% of them. So pretty good there. That also means only 6 contested balls. That means he's getting open. And, in total, he had a lot of targets this year. So for him to only have 6 of those be contested is a good sign there too. So that's Carlos Hernandez. Next up, we've got Rasul Faizan. Rasul Faizan is at Utah State right now. And I remember last year, I believe he entered the transfer portal for a little bit, or maybe I'm thinking of the year before, but he was a guy that I wanted. His grades are awesome, and he's done it multiple years at Utah State now. You look at the numbers, guys, an 84.9 and a 78.9. I really like that. On top of that, look at that yards after contact per attempt. He's getting nearly 4 yards per carry after contact per attempt. That is very impressive. And last year he had 30 carries of 10 plus yards with only 197 carries. So what? 197 carries, 30 carries of 10 plus yards. That's nearly 20% of his carries were 10 plus yards. And for 15 plus yards, that's 21. So he had over 10% of his carries were going for 15 plus yards. That is super, super impressive. If you guys aren't familiar with this kid, he would be a big get. And I think you bring Rasul into this running back room as good as it already is with Rodgers and Parker and all the young talent behind them. I mean, what this would be with Rasul Faizan would be ridiculous. I mean, this guy is a beast, and you look almost every game he graded out well. One below average, slightly bad game in Washington State. But if you look here, guys, he only played 5 snaps on 2 carries, so it's not really even a worthwhile sample size. This guy is legit, and if we were able to bring this guy, like seriously, just to recap those numbers, it is crazy. 3.8 yards per after contact per attempt on his career, 30 or 50 carries in his career of 50 yards or 10 plus yards, and 33 carries in his career of 15 plus yards. These numbers are wild, guys, and that's only on 315 carries. It's very impressive. 1,843 yards, 5.9 yards a carry, and 13 touchdowns. This guy would be such a big get, and what he would do for the running game here, it would be Wayshawn Parker had an awesome season last year, but he is still young. As I think we are good at the running back room. If this is all we have, I'd say we're one of the better running back rooms in the Big 12 and one of the better running back rooms in the country, just with what we have. You bring this guy in, it makes it a clear top 10 running back room in the country, like undisputable. Like this would be a huge get. I really hope we push hard for Faizan. I wanted him last time he was available. I want him again. Let's hope we go ahead and put a stamp on this, get him in, and damn, would we be lucky to have this guy. Okay, guys, and finally, we're looking at Dasmond James. Now, Dasmond James is a guy that really came onto the scene at the end of the year with a wild bowl game performance. So basically, he hadn't been a huge impact player for Arkansas. And then all of a sudden, they go into the bowl game against Texas Tech, and he goes off. And I love that he did it against a Big 12 opponent. But this kid went off like wild. According to Steve Bartle, this guy's running a 10.4640 in the 100-yard dash, multiple sub 4.4 second 40-yard dash numbers. So this is a super athlete with very good speed and a nasty deep threat. So take a look here, guys. 6'2", 196 with that type of speed is a dangerous weapon, but he's also proven it. Now, I do want to be clear. This is on 3 catches, but it was a ridiculous 3 catches, 3 targets, 3 catches, 137 yards, 1 touchdown, 92.2 PFF grade. Very, very impressive, this guy. And it is going to be, you're betting on the upside and you're betting that you can catch that magic in a bottle that he had. And one of those receptions was for 94 yards. So it was a huge play. but you look here, guys, some of these plays were after contact. I think it's very exciting with Dasmond. I think you're betting on a lot of upside, but just to be clear, what we'd be getting with him is a guy that went off in a ball game and really impressed against good competition in Texas Tech. And we'd be able to bring that into our room. You're betting you're going to get at least, 70-80% of what he showed in the bowl game, and like you're getting a good player with a lot of upside, right? It's not like this guy, he's class of 2027 is his first draft eligible year, so you got a lot of eligibility with him. And I think he's an exciting prospect. Again, 1 game sample size. I'd like to have him. We'll see where that goes. Okay, guys, and final thoughts coming up here. Before we dive into my final thoughts, make sure you guys like the video. Also, comment down below. What are you guys thinking? Any one of these targets that you really want, that you'd be most excited about? I want to hear what you're thinking. Also, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Hit the notification bell so you guys don't miss any videos. My final thoughts, guys. I'm going to give you my order of guys I want, in progression here. First off, Razul Faizan. I'm sure it wasn't hidden as I talked about it, how impressed I am with this kid. He would be a huge get, and I would be shocked if he wasn't a, big star level running back for our university right away. Like, I would be very surprised if he does come to Utah, barring injury, God forbid, obviously, but if he wasn't to get at least like 750 yards, I'd be shocked. I mean, this is just to let you guys know, I didn't, in the article, Steve talks about it, but he's being pursued by some big name schools, Alabama, North Carolina, Utah, Florida State. It's going to be a tough get. To pick up this kid would be a tough go. But if we can, I've wanted him for a while. I don't understand why we didn't get him over Utah State last time. Maybe there's details I don't know, but he would be my number 1 get if we could get him. Then number 2, I'd go ahead and say Carlos Hernandez. I think Carlos Hernandez really flashed on a good sample size last year, and I was very and I like what we're seeing here. I think you're just getting a guy that had a really high yards per game average receiving. Um, it looked awesome. I liked what I saw in his numbers, and he looks like he's trending to be a big time playmaker. And then Dasmond James, don't get me wrong, he'd be the 3rd most exciting for me, but it doesn't mean that he's not a good player. I think Dasmond James is very realistic for us to get as well. He's a guy that flashed a real big in 1 game, but it was really his only opportunity where he got to go out there and try to flash. So I think it'd be a really worthwhile roll of the dice. I'd be excited to get any of these guys. Let me know your thoughts down below. Like the video, comment, subscribe, hit the notification bell. I'm out of here. Go Utes.